More than 2,500 years ago, the world knew an empire so powerful that it seemed impossible to stop. Its territory stretched across thousands of miles, ruling millions of people under the command of a single man. His name was Xerxes. King of Kings. Lord of Asia. Entire cities surrendered before him without a fight. No wall seemed strong enough. No army appeared capable of resisting the power of Persia. At that time, many believed the Persian Empire was destined to rule the known world. But on the western edge of that vast empire stood a small land known as Greece. Unlike mighty Persia, Greece was divided into independent city-states that often fought among themselves. Small. Fragmented. Weakened by internal conflicts. To most of the world, its defeat seemed inevitable. Yet these small kingdoms possessed something that no empire could ever buy. Men willing to fight and die for their freedom. Years earlier, the Greeks had defeated the Persians at the famous Battle of Marathon. For most nations, it would have been just another military setback. But for Persia, it was a humiliation that could never be forgotten. When Xerxes inherited the throne, he swore to finish what his father had failed to accomplish. His revenge would be enormous. Soldiers arrived from every corner of the empire. Persians. Egyptians. Babylonians. Medes. Different peoples united beneath a single banner. Their objective was simple. Erase Greece from the map. Meanwhile, in Sparta, a decision was about to change history forever. A decision made by a man named Leonidas. Sparta was unlike any other city in Greece. From the moment a Spartan boy was born, his life belonged to the state. Comfort was considered weakness. Mercy was rarely shown. At the age of 7, boys were taken from their families and placed into a brutal training system known as the Agoge. There, they learned to endure pain, hunger, exhaustion, and fear. Their purpose was simple: to become warriors capable of defending Sparta at any cost. Years of hardship produced some of the finest soldiers the ancient world had ever seen. Among them stood King Leonidas. When news arrived that Xerxes and his massive army were marching toward Greece, Leonidas understood the danger immediately. But a religious festival prevented Sparta from sending its full army to war. Waiting was not an option. The Persians were already advancing. So Leonidas made a decision that would echo through history. He selected 300 of Sparta's finest warriors. Not boys seeking glory, but seasoned veterans. Men with years of combat experience. Men who knew exactly what they were being asked to do. Before leaving Sparta, many of these men embraced their wives and children for what would be the final time. They understood the odds. They knew they might never return. Yet none refused the call. Together, the 300 marched north under the command of Leonidas. Along the way, warriors from other Greek cities joined them. Their destination was a narrow mountain pass known as Thermopylae. It was one of the few places where the enormous Persian army could be slowed. There, a handful of men stand against an empire. As the Greeks prepared their defenses, a messenger from Xerxes approached. The Persian king offered them a choice: surrender their weapons and submit peacefully, or face annihilation. According to ancient accounts, Leonidas answered with only 2 words: Molin Lave. Come and take them. As dawn broke over Thermopylae, the Greeks finally saw the full scale of the force marching toward them. The Persian army stretched across the landscape as far as the eye could see. Infantry, cavalry, archers, engineers, and supply trains filled the horizon. To many, it seemed less like an army and more like a moving nation. Some ancient sources claimed the Persians numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Whatever the true number may have been, one fact was undeniable. The Greeks were hopelessly outnumbered. Yet the Spartans did not waver. They stood quietly behind their shields, waiting for the storm to arrive. As the Persian army assembled before the pass, stories of its size spread among the Greek defenders. One warrior remarked that the Persian archers were so numerous their arrows would blot out the sun itself.
The response came without hesitation. "Then we shall fight in the shade." The words quickly spread through the ranks. It was more than confidence. It was a declaration. The Spartans had already accepted the possibility of death. Fear no longer held power over them. Across the battlefield, Xerxes watched and waited. He expected the Greeks to surrender once they understood the hopelessness of their situation. Instead, they stood their ground. Confident of victory, Xerxes finally gave the order to attack. Wave after wave of Persian soldiers advanced toward the pass. But the narrow terrain prevented them from using their overwhelming numbers. Only a small portion of the army could engage at one time. The Greeks had prepared for exactly this moment. Locked shoulder to shoulder behind heavy shields, they formed an unbreakable wall of bronze. When the Persians charged, they met a forest of spears. Again and again, Persian soldiers rushed forward. Again and again, they were driven back. Bodies began to pile up before the Greek line. The attack that Xerxes believed would end in minutes continued for hours. For the first time in years, the unstoppable Persian war machine had been brought to a halt. By the second day, Xerxes' frustration had turned into anger. Thousands of his soldiers had already fallen, yet the Greeks still held the pass. Determined to break the stalemate, he unleashed his most feared warriors. The Immortals. They were the elite guard of the Persian Empire. Hand-picked soldiers, heavily armed, highly trained, and fiercely loyal to their king. Throughout the empire, their reputation inspired fear. If anyone could crush the Greek resistance, it was them. As they advanced toward Thermopylae, many Persians believed the battle was finally about to end. They were wrong. The fighting was fierce. The Immortals attacked again and again, but the outcome remained the same. The narrow pass robbed them of their advantage. The Spartans held their ground. By now, Xerxes had a problem. The greatest army on earth was being delayed by a few thousand defenders. Then, a solution appeared. A local Greek named Ephialtes approached the Persian camp. For reward and favor, he revealed the existence of a hidden mountain path. A route that bypassed the pass and led directly behind the Greek position. That night, under the cover of darkness, Persian troops began their march through the mountains. The fate of the defenders had been sealed. Before sunrise, Leonidas received the news. The Persians had found a way around the pass. Soon, the Greeks would be surrounded. The battle could no longer be won. Knowing what was coming, Leonidas dismissed many of the allied troops. Their mission was no longer to hold the pass forever. It was to survive and continue the fight. But the Spartans remained. They knew exactly what awaited them. Death. Yet not a single man abandoned his place. As the final day began, the defenders marched forward to meet their fate. They fought with unmatched courage. Spears shattered. Swords broke. Men continued fighting with whatever weapons they could find. In the chaos of battle, King Leonidas fell. But even the death of their king could not break the Spartans. They formed a desperate ring around his body and continued fighting against impossible odds. One by one, they fell. Yet the line never truly broke. Militarily, the Persians had won. The pass was theirs. The defenders were dead. But history would remember the battle differently. The sacrifice at Thermopylae became a symbol of courage, resistance, and duty. Across Greece, the story spread rapidly. Men who had never met Leonidas now spoke his name with respect. The delay had bought valuable time. Time for the Greek cities to prepare. Time for new armies to gather. Time for resistance to survive. Months later, Persia would suffer devastating defeats that changed the course of history. More than 2,000 years have passed since the Battle of Thermopylae. Empires have risen and fallen. Kings have been forgotten. Entire civilizations have vanished. Yet the story of the 300 still endures. Because some battles are greater than victory. They become legends. If you enjoyed this journey into, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
And before you go, let us know in the comments, what historical event you'd like to see featured in our next video.